This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome.
For over a year now, one of my favorite projects has lied dormant under a pile of stuff. And that's my future world's fastest lawnmower. If you aren't familiar, this thing has a GSXR 1000 motor making 160 horsepower mounted to a full chromoly chassis. But now it's time to get this thing going. As this thing sits, it's weak, flexible, and basically just a rolling frame. All things you don't really want in something that goes 150 miles an hour. So that all changes today, and I'm reinforcing any and everything. With the rear axle off, I took the opportunity to install both the rear sprocket and the brake disc. I decided to change up the design of the chassis by removing the part Guido took so much time on, and then added a ton of tubes to make her stiffer than a board. Now that the chassis is stiff in bending loads, it's time to strengthen the floor and keep the chassis square. My straight edges represent the path of the chain, which is the biggest object I need to work around. And very quickly I made a piece that runs into the chain. So off it comes, and now I have to get fancy with it. With the main bits of the chassis finished, I can now start adding systems, starting with the radiator. And yes, it's supposed to be curved, it's off the motorcycle. For the bottom of the radiator, I'm using my favorite rubber mounts to keep the whole thing isolated. Since last episode, I also decided to change the seating position considerably further forward. This will give it a much more even weight distribution and keep it from wheeling so bad. I'm also still using the same go-kart seats before I got from Jake Brother.
This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. This would be kind of sweet. I got that. I'm gonna do that.
Now I'm jumping on mounting the floorboards I ripped off the original lawnmower. I intend to install all of the original body panels on this thing to keep up the actual lawnmower appearance. Normally under the radiator is an oil cooler, but being this thing is designed for drag racing, I'm installing a bypass kit to get rid of it altogether. While I'm working on motor stuff, I'm modifying the original shift linkage to be able to be shifted by a handle instead. I found these sleeve bushings that fit tight into a tube, and I'm going to be using them for both the shifter and steering linkage. In another move to undo what I did last episode, I tried to repair the headers I cut in half. Originally, I was going to make these into a set of zoomies, at least that was until I found out they were titanium. So I decided to just buy another set of headers because I'm lazy. But with that said, I'm still going to make the back half of the exhaust stainless, and you can't just weld them together, so I made an adapter. The back half of the exhaust is actually relatively short, and so all it needs is a couple bends and a V-band flange, and it is good to go. It's not the most complicated thing in the world, but I grabbed an exhaust hanger from O'Reilly's to help support the back of the exhaust. So now I can simply back purge all the tubes, weld them up, and then they're ready for install. Now on to something critical, steering. I bought a rack for a side-by-side I'm going to use, and I need to mount it up to the chassis so I can start plotting out all the steering shafts. Getting the steering shaft around the motor is rather difficult, and I needed another bushing to support it, so I'm going to make a rod that not only holds the bushing, but gives me a place for hood pins. The dash panel does absolutely nothing, but it does look sweet, so it's getting installed. Another panel to mount is the rear fender. However, it's now fenders because I cut them in half. The rear axle is now considerably wider than a stock mower, and the wider fender will hopefully make it a little more aerodynamic. I'm pretty sure drag strips have a rule that you need a tail light. So here's the tail light. Now that I've put everything together, I get to take it right back apart. See, I didn't fully weld anything, like at all. So now I get to pay the piper and just go and do it all now. Even with the front wheels, the whole frame is probably just over 50 pounds. That's the benefit of thin wall chromoly tubing. When most people see street signs, they think, stop, or that's the speed limit. I see a cheap source of aluminum, so I legally acquired 3 signs and a 4th that was a little shady. These signs are going right here to create a flat bottom floor. This will help the aerodynamics, however there is going to be a mower deck under here, so I don't know how effective these will be, but they do look cool. The signs will eventually get riveted on, but I still have work to do around the floor area, so they're getting set aside for right now. With welding in the floor completed, I can assemble this thing for the final time. The motor was a little tight around the motor mounts, so we used a 7-foot cheater bar and barely got it in after welding tightened up the gap. I want to protect my ass. Literally. Nothing sounds like a worse Thursday afternoon than having my butt cheek lacerated by a 530 chain. I'll save that for the weekend. So I'm going to use a piece of 1/4-inch aluminum angle as a chain guard. It's overkill, but that's fine. My original plan was to notch the guard around a bar, but I quickly gave up and decided cutting it a bit shorter was enough. I might be insane, but I was smart enough to countersink the underside of the chain guard so a bolt head can't hit the chain. The last thing I have to fab up is the Zeus tabs for the seat. Zeus fasteners are a 1/4 turn fastener that can be removed quickly with a flathead screwdriver. They're also quite low profile and great for a seat bucket.
Okay, so this thing is absolutely insane now. I mean, it looks kind of like a lawnmower. It doesn't have the mower deck yet, and it doesn't have the floor, but once those things are in there, it's gonna be pretty complete looking. Here's the game plan. So next time, I'm gonna be working to finish getting this thing done. Done-ish. I am going to thrash, not that I haven't already been thrashing this entire episode, but I get to thrash more and get this thing to a point where it actually can drive. So I'm just looking over at my little list over here. I have a lot of things to do. It needs a lot, but it's borderline possible to get done. That's the episode. This thing is absolutely crazy. It's exactly how I envisioned it. Wish me luck. I will see you next time.